So what's going on YouTube? I'm Dr. E and this is a video on the installation of a Polarstar Jack. So with opening a jack, first thing you'll get is the jack itself with the macro line. Next you'll see the FCU, which is right here, and the trigger board, which is right here. Next is your data cable to your FCU from the trigger board. You will receive a Polarstar sticker and a piece of paper giving you some information about the jack, what to do and what not to do. So that is it. It is packaged in this nice foam cardboard box, so it is actually pretty decent packaging. So onto the gun. Alright, so I'm going to be installing jack into this blowback G&G. It is one of the Evite custom, whatever they consider these things, but it's a blowback G&G with a, and first the upper thing, if you can see it. So let me get into the gearbox. So that means I have to disassemble the gun. Alright, so when you get to this point, while your gearbox is out of the gun, you have removed anything around it, such as bolt catchers on some guns, or the blowback housing, such as this G&G. What you want to do is take all the screws out of your gearbox. Then you want to stick something in the back, like so, to keep your spring guide from shooting out, and open up your gearbox. So when you open your gearbox, what you want to keep? You want to keep this spring guide. You are going to reuse this, and you're going to be reusing the trigger. Basically everything else goes except the little safety latch here and the tapper plate, which is on the other side of the gearbox. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the internals here besides a few things, and clean it up and get it ready for the jack. So be right back. Alright, so when you get to this point right here, while you have everything cleaned out, what you want to do is take the jack itself, have this data cable that goes into the solenoid on the bottom of this line, and you want to place the jack in your gearbox just like that. There are nubs or notches, holes, whatever you want to call it, where the little nub on the gearbox where the cylinder used to sit, that's where the jack is going to sit, and that's what holds it in place. So what you want to do first is take this little data cable and plug it into your trigger board. Now you got to make sure you plug it in the right way, because the pinholes in here are offset, so you want to make sure you do not break those, because that would be bad. and it should plug in just like this. Alright, there we go. It is plugged in. Now you want to take your data cable itself, the actual one that runs out of the gearbox, and plug it into the trigger board. And again, make sure you are plugging this in the right way so you do not break any of the pins. Alright, there you go. Now, what you want to do is take your trigger board and place it into where, well, your wiring harness or your contacts were previously. And be very careful because this trigger board is very fragile. And if you break it, well, it's probably going to be hard right now to find one too. So after you've done that, you want to take the screw that held in your contacts previously, which is this little guy right here that held this thing in. Whoops. But you want to put it back into the hole right there. Now you want to make sure this is not too tight because you can crack this trigger board. Now, next thing you want to do is take your trigger itself, put your spring in there like so, like how it was when you took it out. Then you want to place it back into here where it was previously. Just be careful how you place it. Some triggers may not stay in, like this one is right now. Just make sure you place it back into the hole, and this is what's going to be pushing the little button on top, which fires the solenoid. So after you get the trigger in like this, what you want to do is, well, set everything in place, such as this macro line and this data cable. So just bend it into place, and this data cable will be going into this little slot here where the wiring harness exited the back of the gearbox. Now at this time you might want to put your spring guide back in too. This is what holds on your stock. They are threaded inside this little hole, if you were wondering. So it is going to sit into here like so. You just got to find the happy spot for it, and once you find the happy spot, which I'm not finding right now, it will sit into place. So then push the data cable and the macro line and close up your gearbox. Alright, so once you get to this point with your gearbox all closed up, you want to make sure your trigger is freely moving, and push your tapper plate up to safety. Make sure that works, and that is really it. All you gotta do now is install the gearbox back into the gun that you own and plug in your FCU to your data cable, and you will be ready to go. And you will need a Polarstar battery connection type, of course, and a tank of some sort, of course, with the correct regulator and PSI output. Now the jack, it states in here that the operating PSI of the jack is between 40 and 130 PSI, so do not go below the 40 because it will not work. It will not push the nozzle, cycle the nozzle correctly. And 130, anything above that, you may, well, break a solenoid or some sort of internal part to it. So just follow those guidelines. Supposedly these things are very efficient out of the box, and well, I'm going to test it out, see what I think, and I will be doing a review on this gun in the following months, and any updates, any problems with the gun, I will update you guys on. So this is Dr. E, and until next time, call your hits.